I am not teaching, I am publicly learning. But hi and welcome to Learning for the Life in the UK test part 262, British Comedy part 2, that is on the page 92. I'm doing morning stretching, and if you participate in the morning stretching, that is at your own risk. We already had that it is important for the British people of their character that they are able to make laugh of themselves, to make fun of themselves, and to laugh at themselves. And already in the medieval times there were jesters, and they made fun of people at the court, of the medieval kings. And when Shakespeare included in his works comic characters, and in the 1840s there were the political satire magazine Punch, which made fun of politicians and so on. And today there's still a magazine, for example, the Private Eye, which makes political satire. Comedians were a popular feature of British music hall, a form of variety theatre, which was very common until television became the leading form of entertainment in the UK. Some of the people who had performed in the music halls in the 1940s and 50s, such as Morecambe and Weiss, became stars of television. So there was the popular British music hall, which is a form of variety theatre. So basically a theatre, but in that different types of things are showcased. So not just one play, but maybe different attractions basically. I don't know how all this is playing out now in reality, but there are always, every 3 minutes, a person is doing something, some people. But there's also so there's a presenter who talks the whole time and leads through the show, and then there comes someone and does for 3 minutes something funny, maybe just telling some jokes for 3 minutes, maybe there's something, I don't know all in detail, but one form would be that maybe someone does a few tricks, maybe a card trick, a magic trick, maybe a bit jongleuring or something, so some circus things, and all this for 3-4 minutes someone is doing a little show, and that for then the whole evening for 2 hours or something like that, and something like that is very theatre. So there are different types of theatres. It's not an excuse to say, I don't like operas, so not to go to the theatre. There are many different types of theatre, just the whole basic thing, and then there are different genres and so on. So there's no excuse not to go to the theatre, at least not here mentioned. There were theatres, and there were comedians who were popular in them, and that is not so common anymore because the television is now the main form of entertainment in the United Kingdom. But some of the people who in the 1940s and 50s worked in these theatres of the British Music Hall became popular stars of the television. Television comedy developed its own style. Situation comedies or sitcoms, which often look at family life and relationships in the workplace, remain popular. So in the television, the comedy style is a bit different, but it's oftentimes also a comedy style. Situation comedies or sitcoms, which often look at family life and relationships in the workplace, remain popular. So there are then the setup, and there are 3-4 people playing a workspace, an office, and they're talking to each other, and that all is funny, and the audience can laugh about it. And there are also oftentimes 4 or 5 people playing a family, and the situation, how the family lives together, is portrayed, and that all in a funny way. Satire has also continued to be important with shows like That Was the Week That Was in the 1960s and Spitting Image in the 80s and 90s. In 1969, Monty Python's Flying Circus introduced a new form of progressive comedy. Stand-up comedy, where a solo comedian talks to a live audience, has become popular again in recent years. So there, for example, in the 60s, there was a show that its name was That Was the Week That Was. So I guess they were reporting on what happened last week, for example in politics, but then they made a bit of satire about it. Maybe they dramatized also things, they made a bit parody maybe also, and some comedy about it. So what happens last week, but it's not completely the true, basically, could one say. It's a bit in a funny, bended way that some things are pointed out. And then also the Spitting Image was in the 1980s and 90s. And in 1969, there was the Monty Python's Flying Circus, but also in later years, and I think they still exist. So Monty Python's Flying Circus And they made progressive comedy. So they're taking also real stuff and making parody about them, fictionalizing them, dramatizing them, and so on, and that all in a funny way and in a humoristic way, but also in a progressive form, sometimes in a more beaten humor or something like that. And stand-up comedy, and that is where a solo comedian talks to a live audience, has become popular in recent years. So a person comes onto the stage, and then the person speaks a monologue and is speaking for 2-3 minutes, maybe an hour, something as also exists. They are then describing funny situations, and when they're having oftentimes a setup, they're presenting a situation, and then something happens which is not expected. I don't really know, I have an example right now. So they're making a setup, they're explaining what is expected. Someone will now knock at the door, but when they're making the punchline, now it does not happen. Because I don't have an example right now. And this is basically stand-up comedy. So they're explaining funny situations, and so oftentimes in a tragic way. And I'm not sure if I'm right now able to explain it in a few seconds, maybe later. But now we're going to do the whole morning stretching, and if you participate in the morning stretching, that is at your own risk. We're starting with shoulder circles. Back and back, in front and down, so forward shoulder circles. Back, up, in front and down. And we're down in front, up, back, and down. So now backward shoulder circles. And the last one, front, up, back, and down. So with those British comedy, if you're not here for the morning stretching, but just for television and radio, you can just go directly to the next part. I'm not going to do anything new anymore. Now we're breathing in and let's the shoulders up. And we're breathing out and we're letting them fall down. And breathing in, let the shoulders up. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. And last time in. And out. And now we're breathing in, if we're doing the upper plug. And we're reaching high. And we're pretending to take an apple hanging high on an apple plant, to turn it a bit around, and to harvest the apple fruits. And the last two. And now we're doing the shifter. Legs are standing wide apart. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up to a T. And out, we're shifting over to one side. Just with the upper part. And again, in into the middle. And out to the other side. And again, in into the middle. And out to the other side. Again, in into the middle. And out over to the other side. Again, in, and last time. Out to one side. Into the middle. And out to the other side. Now breathe in. And out, we're doing the buffalo fighting its hangover. So lean onto the knees, we're breathing in. And out, we're bringing one shoulder in front. Breathe in and the shoulder back. And out, the other in front. And breathe in the shoulder back. And out the shoulder in front. And again in the shoulder back. And out the shoulder in front. And again in, and for a last round, we're breathing in. Out the shoulder in front. breathing in and out. In and we're hanging down. And breathe in and out over the one leg. Breathing in, out over to the other leg. Breathing in and out to the middle. Breathing in and out, we're coming slowly up, round back, making it to the leg with short. Now we're doing the island pose. The toes are pointing to the outside. We have an only little space between the heels. We're breathing in and lifting the arms up. And we're breathing out, we're sinking down and placing the elbows against the insides of the knees. And now breathe in and straighten up the back. And out we're coming with the back up. And breathing in. And out we're coming down. And breathing in, straighten up the back. And out we're coming with the back up. And last time. In. Out into the island pose. We're breathing in and straightening up the back. Out we're coming slowly up. Now we're going to do a seahorse pose. And we've got standing leg. The other leg comes with the heel on top of a standing leg. We're breathing in. And out we're sinking down. Those only we can do it in Germany. I think we are done with all the musicians. We had Benjamin Britten, that was Billy Budd and Peter Crims, and A Young Person's Guide to Orchestra, Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, and the Edinburgh Festival founded in Suffolk. So you can go now on with the next thing. Andrew Lloyd Webber did Jesus Christ Superstar, Evita, Cats, and Phantom of the Opera, and operas like HMS Pinafore, The Pirates of Penzance, and Mikado are done by Gilbert and Sullivan. So we could go for the prizes: the Mount Oliver Award, the Turner Prize, the Lockery Award, and we're changing the leg. Notable artists, we had done them in detail, but I'm not sure if we really can do them. Thomas Gainsborough, that was the geese, so he did portraits in landscape and gardens. Then we had David Allen, that was the origin of painting. David Allen, the origin of painting. And then we had Joseph Turner. Turner in the 360 degrees landscape things. And was he the one? No, not the one. The one, John Constable, that was Constable on the line between Essex and Suffolk. So Joseph Turner, he made influential landscape paintings, and he raised the profile of landscape painting. And then we have John Constable, he made a work of Dedham Vale, between the border of Suffolk and Essex. In Suffolk there's the Edinburgh Festival, founded by Sir Benjamin Britten, was it? No, just Benjamin Britten. And in Suffolk there's also something like a tomb of one of the Anglo-Saxon kings. And you do the closing exercise. You're breathing in and out. And again in. And out. And again in. Out. And again in. And out. You're breathing in and closing the legs. And out. So that was the morning stretching. Okay, so we have Thomas Gainsborough, portraits, the geese, portraits in Country or Garden Scene. David Allen, the origin of painting. Joseph Turner, influential landscape painter, raised the profile of landscape painting. John Constable, Dedham Vale, between the border of Suffolk and Essex, landscape painting. So I thank you very much, and until next time.